Greetings, beautiful earthlings. My name is Star. If you are new here, I don't know how you found me, but I'm super grateful to have you. And if you are returning, y'all the real MVP, you already know. Today, my friends, I wanted to do a little beginner tarot video because I haven't done a beginner tarot video in a long time. And I do want to recognize my relationship with tarot as being something very sacred. And for those of you who this is your first video that you're ever finding of me, I've been reading tarot since about 2019 or so. I was gifted my first tarot deck in 2017, and tarot's been a really big part of my life since then. And just this past year, I have decided to kind of move my channel in a new direction, away from so much tarot-focused content. Although my name is Star Sparrow Tarot, I do just want to take a minute to present to you guys some questions that I feel we should be asking ourselves as beginners before we even start learning about tarot or reading tarot. So, for me personally, when I was learning tarot, I had a whole lot of questions and really nowhere to go. And I was lucky enough to find Facebook groups back then. Back in those days, when Facebook was still semi-relevant, I was using Facebook groups to find a lot of answers, especially because at that time, tarot content was a little lacking on the internet, and now tarot content has changed in such a way because of TikTok, where everything is so fast-paced and so aesthetic, that I feel like it really has diluted kind of our roots when it comes to tarot. And I've started to get a bitter taste about like the commercialization of tarot itself, especially considering tarot content on YouTube is so heavily general collective reading focused as well. I don't want people to think that the whole point of reading tarot is to do it professionally and make money from it, because that's not true. There is a big number of tarot readers that wholeheartedly believe that tarot is a gift, much like any other psychic ability. It's a gift, although it is a tool. It is a gift, and I have seen many people say it is a gift that was given from spirit and should be shared and given freely. That's a concept that I struggled with a lot when I was first beginning, because I was personally led by not only the people around me, but also spirit and my guides to charge for tarot readings. But that's neither here nor there. I just want to backtrack like real far back, because right now I'm at a point in my life where I want to talk to people about tarot in the intermediate faction of tarot practice, right? The people who have gone past beginner reading, beginner learning, and who don't feel like they are advanced yet, but feel like they can't quite bridge the gap. And I feel like that's where my focus has started to shift, is trying to figure out how to talk to those people and kind of change the collective in which I am speaking to. However, I do recognize that a lot of people do find my channel and my content based on the fact that they are looking for beginner tarot videos, and I do have a whole slew of beginner tarot videos because that's what I've been doing for the past couple of years, is tarot content, which is very highly comprised of beginner tarot content on YouTube. So, for me personally, at the time, I felt it was important to do a lot of beginner tarot content for the clickability, for the views, for the exposure. But now I don't feel so much that beginner content calls to me, just because of the fact that there is so damn much beginner content on the internet, and it's become so polluted that everything you find is completely regurgitated, and I feel like it's a little redundant for me to even bother saying the same thing everybody else has said just for the sake of it coming out of my mouth, because you want to watch me instead of this person for whatever reason. And I understand that that's how content works, but I did that. I had my years of creating beginner content, and I really tried to figure out a way to teach beginner content. And for those of you guys who have seen in my playlist or remember the Learn the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot series, that was a terrible failed experiment, and it really deterred me from trying to teach tarot because, for one, I'm not much of a teacher, especially in this kind of setting where it's just me talking to a camera. At least I wasn't back then, and I had felt like I didn't quite know what information I should be giving you guys, especially because at the time I was still learning myself, and I didn't want to admit that I didn't feel confident enough to speak from a place of authority about the things that I was talking about, which is why I was reading from a book and trying to teach you that that was the starting point. So now here I am in 2025 feeling like I have a better perspective on an overall view of where I believe one should start in tarot. This is not to say this is the right answer, because everybody learns differently, and I do acknowledge that, and I do think that it's very important for everyone who is trying to learn tarot to understand that everybody learns differently. So I personally feel right now in the community that most tarot content is very one-size-fits-all, and over the last couple of years I've seen an influx of creators trying to make new and inventive ideas for people with like ADHD, neurospicy people who really need that help when it comes to studying, right? Things like the Tarology deck, things like interactive apps, interactive games, things like that, which are all really, really great resources, because I believe that tarot should be accessible to everyone who wants to learn in a free capacity. There's no reason that you should have to go through a paywall to access the type of information that you are trying to access. And I want to make it very clear that I do feel like a lot of paywalls are just kind of a money grab, especially considering most beginner tarot content is regurgitated information in some sense, and it's just a little seasoning based on the creator you're listening to, but it's all the same thing. So what I want to talk about here is kind of a little remix on a video I made a while back, which was called something like Creating a Safe Space in Tarot or something like that. I can't remember. It was a really long time ago. But I very wholeheartedly believe that there are a lot of things that one should do when preparing to even begin the process of learning tarot. So most people I find on the internet, when they are instructing you on how to start learning tarot, are going to tell you to get this deck and this book, maybe take this course, study this, right? Get some flashcards, even, download this, and this. And that's all well and good, but a lot of people aren't prepared for, one, the actual weight of what it is that they're getting into, and two, the questions that are going to come up internally within oneself during this time. So I feel like mental preparation is as much important as physical spatial preparation, and I feel like it's something that we don't talk about in the community, and this is something that I have been wanting to talk about for a long time. And I finally started writing down some notes, because I have never been a notes person, I've never been a script person, and it's not so much that I want to create better content. Clearly I still don't have a background, I still don't do my makeup right, I don't have fancy editing or anything, but I am a very heavy believer in the fact that if you are looking for the information will find you, especially the information that you need, right? We believe here in this community in divine timing, and the information will find you when it is ready to find you. So this is not to say that if you guys are beginners and you have gone through, all of the things everybody's ever told you to do, it's not to say that you did it wrong or that you started in the wrong place. Or even if you've been reading tarot for 5-10 years and none of these things have ever come up for you, it's not to say that those are wrong or that I think your method of learning was wrong. this is just personally how I experienced my own learning and the things that came up for me, not only while I was learning, but after I no longer considered myself a beginner, because I was completely blindsided by being handed a tarot deck at the time. And little recap, sorry for those of you guys who've heard it before. I know a lot of people have, but I was literally handed a tarot deck and a book one day. My friend was like, hey, I didn't quite vibe with this deck. Maybe you'll have better luck. I had no idea what tarot was. I was baptized and raised very Catholic, and I was later very involved in the Christian church a couple years after that. So I was extremely terrified of the tarot deck, of what it was that I was learning, of what it is that I was bringing into my life, of what it was that I was bringing into my house and around my family. But it's not to say that I was completely shut down to the idea. It's just that I didn't quite know what I was getting myself into. And when I was trying to look for answers on what these things meant, I was either getting the really Christian side of things, of you're opening portals, you're opening demons, your whole family's gonna be in danger, or the learn these key words type of information. And neither of those were helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I do have a little bit of notes here for you guys, so if you are the type of person that you want a little heads up on when I'm jumping into my information, you can go ahead and pause, get a drink, get some food, get some snackies, whatever you need, right? But I wholeheartedly believe that I wish someone had told me what I was getting into, not in terms of what tarot is, what spirituality is, things like that. It's more of the journey that I was going to be going on internally and spiritually throughout this whole process, because I, like many other tarot readers, believe that tarot is a tool for self-reflection, self-growth. Now, that's not to say that you doing readings for clients or for friends and family is wrong, right? Because it's not. It's part of the journey. But I feel like at its core, when we really strip it down, tarot is about the self, your self-reflection, your self-journey, whether that's yourself or the person you are reading for, okay? When it comes to how I want to approach this, like, precursor to tarot, or precursor to tarot learning at that, I want you guys, the beginners who are here, okay, I want you guys to be completely honest with yourself with the questions that I'm giving you. Feel free to write them down. Feel free to come back to this video. Feel free to write answers in the comments if you want. But I feel like it is super important to be honest with yourself when it comes to these questions, because you're not answering these questions for anyone else but yourself, because tarot is a really long journey that you are going to take with yourself for a very long time. So I've said this a million times before, tarot is a lifelong journey, and if you're not ready for that, you might need to reevaluate what your intentions are with tarot. And that triggers a lot of people, because a lot of people see a really pretty deck of cards and they want to know how to do the playing card game, right? And it's not a game. It's not Uno. It's not gin rummy. It's not poker. It's not something you just learn and you got it. It's never ending. And you're going to continue to learn more about tarot, more about yourself, more about spirit, more about your path, more about seeing things for others and for yourself the longer you are on your tarot journey. And if you are the type of person that gets easily frustrated with not being able to have that instant gratification of, I did this in a month, this is not the practice for you. I'm sorry. And I do not believe that tarot is for everybody. I've said that before and I've gotten a lot of heat for it. But a lot of people are searching for that instant gratification. That's why those videos of learn the tarot in under 2 hours exist, because one, it's clickbait. They're making tons of money off of you for it. And two, they know that that's what people in this day and age are searching for. They want instant gratification. That's why tarot readings, general collective readings, are so popular right now, because people have the access to tarot readings and they can just keep ingesting them like content and not have to pay for it and not have to learn. But when it comes to actually being called to tarot, actually feeling that pull of, I really want to learn this and I don't know why. I can't get this out of my head. I keep researching it and I just keep hitting this kind of wall of like, there's got to be more. I want more. I need more. Those are the people that I'm speaking to, because those are the people who are actually being called to this practice for the journey of self-growth and spiritual betterment. You know, however you want to flip that, however you want to verse it, that's essentially what this is for. So, the first couple of questions that I want you to think about is, what draws you to tarot? Plain and simple. What draws you to tarot? You could be like me, where tarot came to you and you have no idea why, and you're just trying to get answers. Why did this come to me? Why did this fall in my lap, right? I don't understand. Or maybe you're really drawn to tarot. Maybe you're really drawn to the history of tarot. Maybe you're really drawn to tarot decks. Maybe you're really drawn to being a reader. Maybe you feel instinctively like a healer. Maybe you feel like a teacher in some sense, and you are drawn to things like, you know, Reiki and whatnot, and you're not quite sure why, and you're just starting to dip your toes into those things, and you want more, and you feel that sense of, I want more. But whatever it is, you really need to be honest with yourself when answering what it is that draws you to tarot, because if you just want to buy the pretty decks and have a big tarot collection, maybe you should be a tarot deck reviewer on YouTube and not necessarily a tarot reader, which also isn't a bad thing, which also is a whole career path in and of itself. And I personally was a tarot reviewer for a long time because I really love tarot decks. I just do. I love cards. But I also was kind of thrown into this journey and I wanted to know why. And the more I started to learn about it, the more I felt called to it, the more I felt pulled into it, the more I felt like I was there for a reason. So the next question is, have you started any type of research? Do you have any education in terms of tarot whatsoever? It's okay to say no. It's okay if this is your first video you've ever found about reading tarot and you don't know what you're getting into at all, and that's completely fine. But if you are someone who has read one book or started kind of looking up tarot reading meanings just because you keep seeing this one card pop up somewhere or follow you like stickers or something, and you're like, why is this thing following me? So you look up the meanings and you're like, well, if this card has this meaning, what do the other cards mean, right? Maybe there's something that you've started researching in terms of tarot. Maybe you are very well researched, in astrology, and someone told you, since you're so good at astrology, you'll naturally be good at tarot, right? I personally don't believe that's true, but I know a lot of people that do. Whatever the reason may be, I think that it's important to, at this stage in your journey, note where you started and what led you here, just so that you have a foundational understanding of where you are beginning and where you want to go. So we all, at some point in time, when we're drawn to tarot, are being drawn to tarot decks. And a lot of people are going to tell you, you need to start with the Rider-Waite-Smith. Do not touch any other deck besides the Rider-Waite-Smith. And the reason I used to push that notion so hard on my channel is because it was pushed so hard on me as a beginner. And I just wanted to do my due diligence in the community as a teacher to continue to pass on the same knowledge, right? But now, here I am, however many years later, right? And I don't personally believe that's true. I feel like if you have a deck that calls to you, and you love it, and you want to keep handling it, and you want to get to know it, that's still an introduction in tarot. That's still opening the door for you, and that's still just as important as learning the Rider-Waite-Smith. And the Rider-Waite-Smith will always be there. And you'll always see that imagery in every book you read. And you can have access to those images on the internet, right? There's no reason why you need to be forced into buying a tarot deck that you absolutely do not like, unless somebody gifted it to you because you were telling them you're interested in this and they were like, here, I heard that this is the best place to start, right? I feel like forcing beginners into starting with the Rider-Waite-Smith deters a lot of people from reading tarot, and I feel like it's kind of been like a running joke in the community, like, well, if you can't start with the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot, then tarot's not for you. I used to hear that a lot from really experienced witches, not outwardly, right? Not in videos, but in small communities, in small chat circles, in small groups, things like that, where there's a lot of gatekeeping of this is where I started, so this is where you need to start. And I don't believe that that's true anymore because, again, no person learns the same way as any other person. Yeah, we all might learn a little bit the same way, but everybody learns differently, especially considering everyone is so diverse now. Everyone has such diverse backgrounds and upbringings and things like that. And I feel like we need to adjust the way that we're teaching things to the way that people are learning, because whatever methods of learning we understand previously, just in terms of learning itself, right? Visual learning, tactile learning, whatever. I feel like that's not completely applicable in things like the spiritual community, because these things are so fluid, so open to interpretation, and so heavily intuition based. So, when it comes to being drawn to a deck, don't let anybody tell you that you can't buy your first tarot deck. Don't let anybody tell you you need to start with the Rider-Waite-Smith. And don't feel forced to buy a Rider-Waite-Smith alongside whatever deck you have. Because I can guarantee any book you pick up or any supplemental reading type information you find on the internet will have the Rider-Waite-Smith imagery in that text. And if you really don't like that deck because it was made in, 1920, 1940, whatever, it's archaic imagery because it was based off of another archaic type of system of reading, clearly that's not going to resonate for everybody. Now, as an experienced professional tarot reader, I understand the allure of a Rider-Waite-Smith because a lot of these artistically interpreted decks have different energy to them. And that's on purpose, right? Everybody wants to put their own spin on tarot. But when it comes down to wanting a tarot deck that's just going to give you the meat and bones and be completely honest with you and not sugarcoat anything and not give you extras, that's going to be a Rider-Waite-Smith every time. But as a beginner, if that doesn't call to you to start there, don't let that deter you because everybody's telling you that's where you need to start. You can start with something that's very closely image-wise, very close image-wise to the Rider-Waite-Smith that calls to you a little more like the Modern Witch, like a Llewellyn's Tarot, like even the... there was another one I was thinking of and I lost it. There are quite a few that are very, very, very closely related to the imagery of the Rider-Waite-Smith, and a lot of people will get really mad that I say that because it doesn't have this imagery and it doesn't have this hidden thing and it doesn't have these colors, and that's fine. You can still learn about all those little hidden quippets in the Rider-Waite-Smith without owning one, because I don't think it's particularly important to beginning tarot. And a lot of people get this idea of beginning mixed up with the idea of longevity. So a lot of people think that teaching you the correct foundation to begin with is going to be better than you trying to learn, getting confused along the way because you're using the wrong tools, having to backtrack and get this one, having to be forced into this way of learning and suffer through the boring stuff to get to the good stuff, right? Because they think that you need to build the foundation correctly for you to have that longevity in the field, right? But if you're not making learning fun, and nobody is making learning fun for you, you're not going to want to continue to learn, and you're not going to be inspired to one day learn about why the Rider-Waite-Smith is so important, and why the history of that deck and the cultural significance and the religious significance around all of these systems of reading and, you know, the hidden aspects of all these things are important, right? You're gonna have absolutely zero interest in doing that if for you reading or learning feels like a chore, okay? So whatever gets you interested, just go with that and start from there. But understand, a lot of people in the community are going to try to push you in the direction in which they were taught. The same way we inherently know to teach our kids things we were taught growing up, right? It's not to say that's the correct way to teach our kids things, and eventually we all learn that maybe that's quite not what I want to teach my kids. That's not how I want to teach my kids things. But that's what's in our brain of what we should be teaching them and, you know, the foundation for the things that they should learn. So just understand that everybody's going to have their own biases when it comes to the things they are teaching you in regards to where you should start learning tarot, and just take it with a grain of salt. Say, thank you for the advice. I'll keep that in mind. I'm gonna keep going, right? As long as you are self-driven and self-focused and making things fun and interesting for yourself, that's the only thing that matters. Because if you are not taking a tarot course, if you are not being led by a teacher, if you're doing this all on your own, it is very hard. It is very hard to stay motivated. And it's especially hard to stay motivated if you have zero interest in what it is you're learning, right? So I feel like a very, very, very important foundational question for reading tarot that I feel is extremely overlooked in most beginning tarot videos or content at that is, do you feel like you need help tapping into your intuition? Very important question. Because a lot of beginners have absolutely no idea what their intuition is, what it feels like, sounds like, looks like, right? Zero idea. And if you can't follow your own intuition in everyday settings, right? If you're still in the position in your life where you're taking other people's word for gospel, you're still letting other people trample all over the things that you think and the things that you believe, it's not to say that that's a bad thing, right? We all have to go through it. It is part of growing. But if you are stifling your intuition and you don't know how to begin to change that, or you don't recognize that you're doing it, you might have a little trouble with kickstarting your interest in tarot. And that is because tarot is a divination practice. Although, yes, it is an important piece of history and can be studied as such, right? If you have zero interest in learning tarot to read and you just really like it for its historical value and its religious undertones, and you really want to learn these systems of reading just for the sake of learning them, that's fine. That's a whole different thing all in itself. But if you want to be a reader, if you want to be a healer, if you are drawn spiritually to reading tarot or any type of divination, you have to understand that you are eventually going to be 99% led by your own intuition. And if you don't know how to tap into your intuition, if you don't know what that looks like or what that means, and if you don't know how to do that in your daily life, you're gonna have a lot of issues with learning how to trust your own intuition in a tarot reading. Now, why trusting your own intuition in a tarot reading is so important is because a lot of people who just start reading cards, especially the people who just learn card meanings and then try to turn those into readings, will always see a bad card and put it back in the deck. I don't like that. Put it back in the deck. Shuffle again. Give me another card. And they'll keep getting that card. Why does that card keep popping out? I don't want that. Does that mean I'm gonna die? Does that mean I'm gonna get in a car crash? Does that mean I'm gonna lose my job? Right? And instead of pulling themselves out of that fear and listening to the intuition and listening to the guidance on why that card came out in context with the other cards, they're going to either, one, get deterred from reading and be like, well, if this card keeps popping out today, I'm just done reading. Or two, they're going to think, what's wrong with me as a reader, right? Why do I keep getting this card? Why can't I quite get past this guidance? There was one reading I did very early on, and I was first learning reading, and I used to give free readings in my groups. There was one reading I had that scared the shit out of me, and the reading was entirely swords, nothing else. And I'd never seen that before, and it scared the shit out of me. And I kept putting them back and reshuffling them, and I kept getting the same thing, and I was terrified. I was like, what does this mean? There's only so many swords cards in the deck. How are they all here right now and nothing else is coming out, right? And I didn't even tell that to the client. I never gave them that reading. I said, look, something's going on with the energy. I can't quite get into it. It's really freaking me out. I'm sorry, I'm not the reader for you. And I just never gave them that reading. Now, me personally now, I wouldn't freak out about that. I'd be like, damn, you are doing a whole lot of overthinking. Let's figure out why, right? Or you're doing way too much talking, not enough feeling, right? Let's figure out why this is unbalanced. Pull more cards. Yeah, maybe you grab more decks and all those decks just give you more swords. Then it is what it is, right? You have to follow your intuition at that point, because there's only so much to be said about that suit. You can talk about how there's a lot of airy energy, about how there's a lot of thinking and a lot of talking, about how there's like not a lot of emotion, there's no grounding, all these things. But really, if you're only reading the cards for the keywords and the meanings of their cards, and you are doing nothing internally to feel through that reading, you're going to be real confused about why 3 separate decks are giving you all the same cards and this reading is full of swords, right? So sometimes readings don't go your way, and it is something that I think also deters a lot of beginners, because they're like, what's wrong with me as a reader? And it's not to say that anything is wrong with you as a reader, it's just to say that you're not quite tapped into your intuition yet. And you don't have to particularly be working with your guides, right? Especially as a beginner, especially if you are a young beginner. It's not to say that you are going to be so connected to your ancestors that you're going to be led through the reading. You might, right? You could be that 1 in 100 person that is so connected to their guides that you don't need to learn the meanings of tarot and they will guide you through the whole thing. That's super cool. It took me a long time to get there, but it's not to say that some people won't read that way. But if you have zero touch with any of your guides, any of your deities, and you're not quite in touch with yourself and your intuition, and you're asking people how to get in touch with your intuition, you're going to hear a lot of meditate. And humans with zero patience and zero understanding of inner work are always, 100% of the time going to get so mad about hearing the word meditate. It took me almost 10 years in my practice to learn how to meditate for myself, right? I used to meditate the way that people tell you to meditate. You know, start here, do this, visualize this, think about this. And they're all good places to start, but again, not every person learns exactly like every other person. So if you're the one person in a class of 15 people who's just not quite connecting with what the teacher's saying when it comes to why you should meditate this way, you're going to feel like something's wrong with you. And I just feel like a lot of people really slip through the cracks when it comes to things like tarot, because of the lack of information about how to connect with your intuition and how to meditate in a way that works for you, based on your intentions for going into the meditation, right? Specific focus-driven meditations I feel are more important and more effective for me than meditating to control my breath. That's a lot to be said, right? I'm 31 years old and I don't know how to just meditate for the sake of being quiet and controlling my breath. I don't know what that means for me, but I know that it doesn't work for me, and I know that it doesn't inspire me to want to meditate. But meditating for a specific intention and connecting with my guides for this thing, or trying to break through this barrier in my own memory or my own thoughts or my own, blockages, those type of things, actually help, and I can focus on something as opposed to sitting there silently trying to avoid my thoughts, focusing on my breathing. That's why a lot of people don't like meditating, because that's what a lot of people are told to do when it comes to meditating. So I think I'm gonna end this with 2 more questions, because I don't want this to be too long, especially for brand new beginners who might be stumbling on this video. But if you guys are not brand new beginners, I do want to ask you, what do you think about the questions that I'm asking here? Do you have anything to add for the beginners watching this video? Please, because that, I think, is the whole point of the spiritual communities, helping each other out. So that would be really great. I just figured I'd ask before I forget. So my next question is, what are your current beliefs surrounding tarot, limiting or otherwise? And this one is so extremely important if you are driving your own learning here. So if you are learning with a teacher, right, learning with a guru, learning with a I almost said Miyagi. I say Miyagi, but if you are learning with someone who is leading you, I feel like they might ask you these questions, right? Just in passing, just casually, things like that, just to kind of get a feel of where you are and how they can help you out. But if you are like me and you were learning entirely on your own and you were not led by anybody and you were just going off of the things you found on the internet, which in this day and age is not helpful because it is so congested with marketing focused answers, right? You might keep hitting the same wall, and you might not find those answers to those questions for years. Because I promise you, I didn't find the answers to those questions for years. I forgot that I had those questions until I found the answers to those questions, and I was like, damn, I didn't realize I didn't have the answers to that for a really long time. And this is also why why I feel like my content before was so lacking and so redundant, and what kind of demotivated me from making beginner tarot content, because I couldn't really find anything to teach. I couldn't find anything that really hit me in the gut, like, damn, I was missing that, you know? And this is something I just had to go through years of learning and researching to figure out. But when it comes to your beliefs surrounding tarot, this is very important to be honest with yourself about, because, like I said, when I started tarot, everybody was telling me, you know, this is, you're opening your house to demons and your whole family is going to be in danger, right? Those weren't personally my beliefs. Those were the beliefs of everyone around me who had never really heard anything about tarot except what the church had told them, that tarot was of the devil, right? And even when I started getting into my tarot practice and was starting to do readings on YouTube and was still involved in the church, I had some very good friends in the church who were very supportive of me, and I had a lot of people ganging up on me, telling me that if this is the path I wanted to take in life, I could not be a part of the church. They didn't want me around them. They didn't want me around their kids. They didn't want, you know, things like that. This like fear of the occult runs so deep, and it's just something you have to come to understand in this line of work, right? In this community, in this spiritual path that you're on. If you're not comfortable with people telling you that, get comfortable with people telling you that, especially if it's not your beliefs, right? You don't need to believe that just because this group of people believes that. But for me personally, I had zero beliefs about tarot at all. I didn't know anything about tarot. I had never heard anything about tarot. The only thing I had seen from tarot was like maybe some psychic gypsy woman doing readings in a Hollywood movie or something, right? Even when I had started my practice, I'm gonna be completely honest, I haven't seen practical magic, and that blows a lot of people's minds. I haven't seen practical magic. My only idea of like psychic powers was Matilda, right? And I also saw that once as a kid and then once as an adult. Like, I didn't see that a lot. I've never sat down and watched Hocus Pocus all the way through. I personally was never drawn to the which side of Hollywood. And I mean, I guess that's a good thing, because I didn't, feel bad about myself as I was coming into these things. But it just also kind of served to show that I really had no idea at all of what I was walking into. Especially because, I had watched Charmed and I had watched Supernatural, and I didn't internalize any of that because I was young and it was on TV and that's all I knew of that. Things like that. That was my only idea of this realm, of this community, right? My only other experience with anything remotely close to psychics was Sylvia Brown. And, it's like Hollywood psychics. There's that other guy, Tyler something or other, and everybody gets put on the chopping block at some point in time, whether they're a really good psychic, like a crazy good proven psychic, and someone just has a stick up their ass and really wants to prove they're only in it for the money, right? They can do anything they can to smear that person. Or if that person really was faking things and extorting money and doing whatever it is they're accused of, right? Eventually, all Hollywood psychics are put on the chopping block and completely stripped of their authenticity. So for me, doing something like this outwardly was more terrifying than trying to learn about it. And I just wanted the feeling I had in the community of being accepted, being understood, being helped whenever I needed it. I wanted to give that to other people, because I know there's not a lot of that in the internet, and especially at the point in time when I started doing things on the internet, right? But it's important to understand your current beliefs regarding tarot, regarding what tarot is, regarding what tarot reading is, regarding what it means to be a tarot reader. Okay, so you don't need to answer those questions for anybody. You can have internalized fear about those questions and still continue to learn to read tarot. It's not to say that you can't and just work with them and work through them as you go along. But if you don't know that those internalized fears are there, they will surface as you are beginning to read tarot, because there is so much religious coded imagery in tarot. And I think it's hilarious that Christians are so against tarot because of how religious the imagery is, right? It's very religious based. So that's always kind of blown my mind a little bit, that the tarot is so religious based, yet it's so ostracized by the church and, spiritual or church communities. And the thing is, if you recognize that you have these limiting beliefs surrounding tarot, I feel like that's important to note, because they can't hold you back. So even if they're there and you recognize them and you keep pushing through, right? At least you know that those limiting beliefs are there, and you know that they will continue to be there, and they will continue to show their face, and they will continue to pop up as you are going through this spiritual journey, as you are going through this healing journey, because the whole point of tarot and divination, spirituality, is growth. So that means constantly revisiting the things that are holding you back and no longer serving you, so that one day when you're ready, you can face them, you can heal them and forgive them and release them and move forward, right? But a lot of people who are just starting out don't know that that's why those things are going to keep popping up. So they're either going to think that it keeps popping up because it's, a warning, or because, they feel guilty about it, or whatever psychological, logical reasoning people might try to put on those types of things that are coming up in your head or in your reality as you are starting to learn tarot. And it's not to say that these things are coming up to deter you in any sense, or because you think it's God the Father Almighty talking to you, telling you that what you're doing is wrong. Because people will tell you that, right? It's God talking to you, telling you that these things are wrong, especially if you are going to somebody with those beliefs, asking them why you have these type of limiting beliefs or these type of doubts surrounding what you're doing. You have to always keep that in the back of your head, that everybody you talk to has their own biases based on their own experiences in life, and you have to be able to trust yourself and why you are doing this and why you are being led to it, and trust yourself moving forward, because limiting beliefs are there for everyone in some form or fashion. If you are one of the lucky ones who was raised by spiritual moms or grandmas, right, witches, you might not have those beliefs. You might be very open to what it is you are doing. You might have been introduced to this at a very early age, and you are very lucky. I know just a few people who were actually introduced to this at a young age, who their moms and grandmas were very in touch with their witch lineage, their spirituality, things like that, and they were not deterred at all from exploring that side of themselves and being able to choose their own path forward. But most of us did not get that type of upbringing where we were allowed to choose for ourselves and we were allowed to explore things like that. And we were forced into believing somebody else's beliefs, and still are to this day. So I just want you guys to know that it's very important to understand that about yourselves when learning tarot, because if you have those limiting beliefs, they will continue to come up until you are ready to face them, until you are ready to heal them. Okay, it's not to say that you're doing anything wrong, and it's not to say that you shouldn't be doing it. It's just to say that those are going to keep coming up until you face them and heal them. And I feel like the last question that we could stop at today is, do you feel like you have a do you feel like you have a safe space to practice? Now, this is super important, because a lot of people who are drawn to tarot or witchcraft in any capacity are young, and they might have been drawn to it based off of seeing something on Hollywood, based on seeing a creator that they really like, right? And they don't have that type of support in their reality, in their family, with their friends, things like that. And they might have to start learning these things on the DL. They might have to go to the library to research them because they can't use the family computer. They can't buy these books because they can't keep them around, right? They sometimes can't even keep tarot decks and crystals in the house and things like that. And this is very important to understand about where you are currently in your life in regards to where you want to be. Now, this also has to do with the limiting beliefs of you and the people around you in your reality, as well as the things that you have learned so far, right? Because if you are in such a position where you do not feel safe to learn these things, to practice these things, it is going to set you back. And that's not to say it's going to set you back in terms of what you learn. It's just to say that you're going to have to fight extra hard for your beliefs and for your independence and your freedom in this aspect. So I know a lot of us have gone through that. Okay, first of all, don't feel bad. A lot of us have gone through that, where when we first started learning, we were in the broom closet. I remember when we were little kids, my aunt was trying to learn tarot, and again, we were in a very heavily religious household, so she bought one of these super teeny tiny little mini tarot decks, and she bought this pair of skater shoes that had hidden compartments in it, and she would keep her little tarot deck in her shoes. And that's something that always stuck with me when I was little. Like, why did that mean so much to you that you needed to hide it in your shoes, right? As I grew up, I understood, because I was doing the same thing. I used to carry things with me in my backpack, put hidden compartments in things, right? It just is what it is. A lot of us have to go through those lengths to hold on to what it is we are trying to learn and the path forward that we are drawn towards. However, if you are not the type of person in this situation, or you do feel like either you're old enough to practice this of your own volition and you don't have anything holding you back, or you are supported in the things that you are doing, you know, these things are not an issue for you, you feel safe physically, do you have a safe space to practice? Okay. Now, practicing outside is one thing. A lot of people who don't have a safe space or don't feel like they have a safe space might be led to practicing outside. If you are young and you are practicing outside, like say you're doing readings for a person at the park or at the mall or something, again, be aware. In this day and age, people are very outward about their opinions and will come up to you and say something to you about it. Either, that's super cool, I can't believe you're reading tarot out here, or why do you think it's okay to do that here? Like, there's kids here. This is a family space. Why are you doing that? Or, we're right near a church. Why would you do that, right? People are shameless when it comes to enforcing their beliefs, right? Especially when it comes to hateful religious beliefs. It's not to say all religious people are hateful, because they're not. But the ones who are hateful and spiteful are very serious about enforcing those beliefs at all times at any given place. So please be aware of that. Please keep yourself safe. But also understand that you will start to feel things about yourself when you're trying to read cards in public. I used to do this as a practice for myself to get over like reading and feeling camera shy, right? I would go sit in the mall and just shuffle my cards. And a lot of people will walk by and, right? And I'll pull cards and then I would pull out the camera and I would read out loud. Just at the mall. And a lot of those videos didn't make it because either the audio is so bad or I got so embarrassed I had to turn it off, right? But it's kind of like rejection therapy, but like, I guess, immersion rejection therapy in a way. I wouldn't suggest this for beginners because it is brutal and it's terrifying, especially if you already have any type of religious trauma or fear surrounding your practice or being open with yourself as a witch, as a reader, as a healer, whatever, right? So do not put yourself in situations in which you are going to do more harm than good. If you do not have a safe space to read, that doesn't mean go read out in public, right? Especially if you have those beliefs which are going to cause you to feel more harm than good. It's not going to be beneficial to you at all. And I would suggest in that situation sticking to learning until you do find a safe space to practice. And if you cannot practice those things, there is an app called Labyrinthos which has practice readings and a deck on it, and it's a free app. And I used to do that all the time when I didn't feel comfortable yet bringing my cards in public and reading for other people, and people still wanted me to read for them. And it has like a little deck and it gives you different spreads and you just pull the number of cards and you flip them and you can read them. I don't know if any other apps like that exist just yet, but it was super helpful for me when I was getting comfortable reading for people and I didn't feel comfortable bringing out my cards yet. I personally used to also bring my cards with me to work and shuffle them and do readings for people at work because, one, I was lucky enough that we were at a place of employment where it was dead a lot, and they didn't particularly care what we were doing as long as our work got done, right? It's not to say you can do that everywhere, but if you're not any longer like worried or scared or things like that, you can try that type of immersion therapy for exposure as well as promotion. However, again, take that with a grain of salt. It's not for beginners. So it is important to have a safe space to read because this is the place in which you will be able to drop your barriers, okay? And that's what I mean by safe space. I don't particularly mean physically safe space, although that is important to talk about in regards to the word safety and space, right? But what I mean is, do you have a little meditation corner? Can you cleanse your space? Do you have charging crystals? Things like that. If you do not, do not worry, okay? That doesn't mean that you cannot read accurately, right? If you only have a tarot deck and you can't do smoke cleansing in the house because you do live with people or you have pets, There are a million ways of being able to cleanse your deck without using tools. Also, if you don't have crystals or you don't want to spend money on crystals, you can use rocks. And I know a lot of people used to really beat that home. When I first started reading tarot, you do not need to buy crystals. Please do not buy crystals. You do not need to buy crystals. For one, crystals are given as gifts in a lot of things you buy, especially from the spiritual community. People like myself make damn sure to give crystals as gifts so that people who don't have the means to buy them or don't have access to a lot of them will at least have something to work with. Also, if you are near bodies of water, so like say you're near the ocean, you can just have a shell that you have from the ocean. Call on the ocean's energy for cleansing, for protection, things like that, to set up your safe space. You do not have to buy seashells to do that. If you live by a lake or a river, you can find a rock from the lake or the river which is already cleansed and charged by the river's energy, by the energy of the sun and the moon, and you can ask it to help you with cleansing, with grounding the energy, transmuting the energy, protecting the energy, what have you. Different colors will correspond to different things, but if you ask the rock for help, it will help you. I personally was very close to rocks my whole life growing up, long before I got into crystals, and I have been into crystals since I was very little. I'd say about 7 or 8 years old I started getting my first crystals. I was very drawn to crystals early because I was so close to rocks, and still to this day I feel more drawn to rocks than I do to crystals. It's not to say that crystals don't work or I don't know how to work with them. I do. I just particularly feel a lot more drawn to rocks, and I feel that rocks work with me better. Again, that's something you'll figure out along the way on your process, as well as learning to communicate with yourself, your intuition, and the things around you, right? So that's also something to learn about. But when it comes to creating a safe space, it's very important to be able to understand how to cleanse the energy, because when you are reading for other people, your deck will absorb that energy. If you have fights with people in your house, or people in your house are fighting a lot, the deck will pick up on that energy and sometimes give you really confusing readings if it needs a good cleansing. If you are not feeling so hot that day and you are aggressively trying to pull cards just because you want clarity on something, maybe what you want clarity on is not actually what you need clarity on. And the deck will tell you that, but you might not understand that because you're a little frazzled from something that happened, okay? So when it comes to formulating tarot questions, that's also an important place to understand that that's a beginning point, is emotions in tarot. I might have to do a separate video on that if you guys would like. It's important to be able to create a safe space when opening a reading. Whether that's opening a reading for yourself, opening a reading for someone else, opening a reading for the general collective. You should still have some type of process for opening the space. If that means you have absolutely no tools at your disposal, you have not a thing, you don't even have salt, you can't even get some salt water and cleanse yourself, right? You don't have bells or chimes that you can use to ring around. You're watching this on something. You're watching this on a phone, a computer, a TV. You have access to YouTube. You have access to sound cleansing. Put that sound cleansing on, cleanse your space. Ask the sound to help you cleanse the space. Put your deck on top of your phone with that sound cleansing. Ask the sound to cleanse your deck. Knock on your deck. Cleanse. Easy peasy. All of these things do not require tools, do not require money. And I think I will do another video on no-buy methods for cleansing your deck, as well as methods of cleansing and charging, because I did just do a little write-up on that as well. But cleansing your space before and after a reading is so prudent. I can't even express how or why. for a long time, I was not cleansing my space, and I was hearing a lot of fucking voices. And one day I was telling my friend, like, I just wish that, like, it would die down in there, right? There's so much going on in my head all the time. I never get any silence. I have to sleep with the TV on because all of the fucking noise in my head. And she was like, do you ever detach from the collective? And I was like, why would I do that? Then I can't get messages. And she goes, girl, you should probably detach from the collective, cleanse your fucking energy, cleanse your space, cleanse your tools, and get a way to to hone in on the collective energy, and then to get out of the collective energy. And if you can't find a method of doing that, ask one of your guides to help you do that, because it's very important. It is so pertinent. You have no idea how being attached to the collective energy at all times is going to drive you nuts. So yeah, I was constantly getting messages, which allowed me to constantly make content, but at the same time, I was not getting a moment's peace, and I was drawing a lot of things into my space and not even realizing it. And once I learned how to detach from the collective and cleanse all that energy, I could meditate. Holy cow, blew my mind. It's like that was the magic answer all along, was to just like fucking shield myself. But at the same time, I was taking everyone else's methods of shielding without understanding that I first had to close the connection and cleanse the energy and then shield. So I was shielding the collective energy in my bubble. And that's why shielding never worked for me, because whenever I tried to shield myself, I was shielding all of that in there with me, along with my negative energy, my negative emotions, and whatever else shit was going on with me, and keeping that inside of the shield with me, and it was making me feel sick. It was giving me really bad headaches. I couldn't focus. I couldn't do it. I couldn't sleep. Sometimes I was so stressed out I couldn't eat. Like, I was losing my mind. And I wish someone had told me that a lot sooner in my tarot practice, but, you know, again, things find you when they're supposed to find you, when you're ready for that thing to find you, right? I don't know why I never heard this before, but I was very grateful that I did, because it helps me, and now I feel so much clearer all the time. And if you're someone who can't smoke cleanse in the house, you don't have access to things like Florida water or anything, right? Anything. Ask your shower water to cleanse your energy, cleanse your aura, cleanse all of that from you. Take a little salt bath, right? Could be sea salt, could be regular table salt. Just put some salt in there. If you have any clear quartz, throw it in there. If you don't have clear quartz and all you have is like a white rock, throw it in there. If you don't have any rocks, just put some damn salt in the water. If you don't have salt or rocks or anything, just sit in the water and imagine that all of that shit is collecting on the surface of your skin like goo, like tar, and when you are washing yourself, you're washing it off, and when you drain the water, it's going down the drain and it's not welcome back. But you have to set the intention that you are cleansing yourself and that that negative energy is being washed down the drain and is no longer welcome in your space, right? Whether you can do that in your mind or not, these are all important things to learn and know about yourself. I used to get, when I would tell people this, I would always get someone who commented, I can't see anything in my mind's eye. So how am I supposed to do that, right? I don't have internal images like everyone else. My brain doesn't do that. So how am I supposed to do that? Speak, baby. As a witch, as a healer, as a spiritual enthusiast, your voice has power. Speak. Cleanse. May this water cleanse my energy. Boom. You can even just say cleanse. Cleanse me. Heal me, bitch. Do you guys remember that video? I got a rose quartz. Heal me, bitch. Your words are so powerful, and a lot of people, especially people who are in the closet or people who are beginning, are afraid of their voice. They are afraid of other people hearing them do these things, right? You gotta get over that. Sorry, you gotta get over that. Especially if this is something you want to do in the long haul. Yeah, people might look at you like you're crazy because you are talking to a rock, or because you are talking to a deck of cards, or because you're talking to your water. Intention is everything, and your words have more power than you can understand. And although you may feel more comfortable doing these things internally right now, saying these things in your mind, if you do not have a voice in your head, and you cannot hear yourself think, and you cannot visualize things, you gotta speak it out loud. You gotta put it somewhere. Sorry. There's always a way around everything. And if you cannot speak, and you cannot visualize, and you cannot hear, write it down. When I take a shower, the water will cleanse my negative energy. Every time I turn the shower on, my bath becomes a space of healing. Write all that shit down. There is always a way. And if you are not in a place where you can keep those written down, write it down, bury it. Write it down, rip it up. I don't care, man. Put it somewhere. The next time you run to the gas station, throw it away. Write down the fact that when I throw this paper away, my intentions will be released to the universe. It doesn't have to mean that because you are ripping it up or throwing it away or burying it, that those things will not come to fruition because you are disposing of them. Use whatever methods you have available to your advantage. Use your intentions and use your words to your advantage. Turn the tides in your favor. Literally everything is in the palm of your hands when it comes to how you use your voice, how you use your intention, how you use your visualization, things like that. There are so many methods of doing things without buying. And if you are doing these things without relying on tools, you are going to be that much stronger of a witch, of a spiritualist, of a healer when you get to where you're going. Because a lot of people rely on tools in the beginning of their practice and don't know how to do these things with intention, with visualization, with manifestation. And if you can do that to begin with, you are building from it from there on. You already have a super strong foundation, and any tools you are using are only going to amplify that. It's not to say that starting with tools is wrong. It's just to say, either which way, you still have to learn how to set that foundation utilizing your own voice, your own intuition, your own intention, your own visualization, things like that. You'll get there eventually. However you get there, you'll get there. I promise. Don't overthink the things you are learning, the methods in which you are learning, because all of it is helping propel you forward. And that's very important to understand as a beginner. And I think most people don't tell anybody that as a beginner because everybody wants you to learn the way that they learn because this is the right way and there's no other way. And you have to understand that you will learn all of it. You have so much time. And if you feel like you don't have so much time and you have to do this right now in this year, like this is the year I'm going to learn tarot, you are setting yourself up for failure because you have to understand that tarot and spirituality and divination do not work on your time. They work in divine timing. So if you are trying to force yourself to learn tarot in a month, 3 months, 6 months, and you don't do it, and you get real disappointed in yourself, and you get deterred because of it, and you stop reading tarot, understand that it might come back to you one day when you are ready, when you are patient, when you are open to learning. And these things have a funny way of just coming back to you. So even if you are super intrigued by it right now and you just cannot start, you are in absolutely no position any which way. You've thought about it forwards and backwards and upside down and inside out, and there is absolutely no way you can start any of this right now. It will come back to you. It will stay with you because you are drawn to it for a reason. So in summation of everything that I've said, understand that there is no wrong way to start. And whichever things you start with are just serving as tools in your tool belt. And you can always learn more things. You can always have more tools in your tool belt. You can never have enough tools to do the things that you want to do. However, You may find that one day in your practice you have too many tools and you feel like it's time to get rid of all the tools and just start fresh with just intention, just piece of paper and some pen. You might want to get rid of everything you own and just go sit in nature every single day and meditate. And that's okay too, because if you didn't start there, it will find you. Everything will find you when it's supposed to find you. So if you are getting frustrated with learning, say you've been really trying to learn, you've been really trying to read this book, you've been really trying to cram this thing and you just can't quite get it, take a break. Tarot's still going to be there. Tarot's not going anywhere. And your health, your mindset, and your outlook on what it is that you're doing is so much more important, because you're only going to have you through this whole journey. And you are doing this for you. And you should be doing this for you. And if you're not doing this for you, surprise, you will be. Sorry to tell you, honey, this is a long, long, long journey that you are going on with you. So, don't give up on yourself. There are no wrong answers. Take everything with a grain of salt. Take lots of notes and learn everything that you can. But through the process, be honest with yourself. Because if you are not being honest with yourself, you can't be honest with your guides, you can't be honest with your clients, you can't be honest with anyone around you. And that means you're not listening to your intuition. So, if you guys have made it to the end of this video, please give me a big ol' thumbs up. This is going to be the start of a series which I am concocting, because I do want to get back to retouching on the beginner content that I had created a while back. I do want to fine tune it and make it better with the information that I have now, with the experience that I have now. And I really hope that that helps those of you who are finding my channel in this day and age, because I do feel like a lot of the things that I said, not so much are outdated, just not the way that I feel or the way that I think or believe anymore. And I want to continue to update my channel as I grow, not just in tarot, but in spirituality altogether. And I know that my content has been a little dry for a long time because I got so into TikTok and what TikTok holds for creators. Because it's a good time. So if you're not following me on TikTok, go follow me on TikTok, because I do a lot more over there. But I'm trying to be more consistent, where I am double posting all of my stuff to Instagram and YouTube, so that nobody misses anything if they don't follow me on TikTok, because I know not everybody wants to be in the world of TikTok, and that's fine. I will continue to chip away at this series as I'm taking notes. Right now I do have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages of notes that I've started, and we didn't even get halfway through the first page right now. So if there's anything else you guys would like me to cover, if there's something that I touched on in this video that you feel like I didn't elaborate on and you would like more information, please let me know in the comments. That is the best way to keep me on track, because sometimes when I talk I go off on tangents and I don't really realize that I leave things hanging. So please, please, please feel free to let me know you want me to elaborate on something down in the comments. If there's something I did not touch on in here that you have a question about, feel free to ask me in the comments. That is my favorite way to make content, is by answering questions you guys have in the comments, because it does keep me on track as well. And if you guys would like to join my Facebook tarot community, it's called Tarot Readers Unite, and I have not been doing anything in there for a while, but I do have a plan moving forward about how I will utilize that space in the future. So if you guys would like to join me over there, feel free. Don't get bummed out that nothing's going on there yet. I am just building the community for when I do have things to do over there, because I have gotten ideas recently. I'm very excited. All of this time that I've had since I quit my job, because I am very pregnant, has given me like so many ideas of things that I've always wanted to do with my content, with my platform, that I never got to do. And I'm very excited to get that ball rolling, because my content came about when I had my first baby child. So I am still going to be at home with the baby child making content when this one comes, and I'm super excited to do all of that again, and I'm kind of just paving the way for that. So I really hope that you guys are excited about where I am moving my content forward. And for those of you guys who have been with me for a long time and you were here when I was making beginner content, or if you've rewatched things on my channel and you've seen my beginner content, did I leave anything hanging that you want me to elaborate on? Please tell me, because I don't mind. You can comment on the old videos, you can comment on this video. I see all comments, whether you delete them or not. So please let me know, and I would love to help you guys out with some answers. It may take me a while to get back to you, but I will get back to you. And I do see all comments all the time. So thank you so much for watching. If you guys made it to the end, I greatly appreciate you so very, very much. And wherever you are when this video reaches you, my friends, I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful day. Don't forget to check out my link tree in the description. Please check out my Adopt a Tarot and Oracle deck listing. I am trying to get all of my tarot and oracle decks to good homes, and I would greatly appreciate it if you guys would help me out. Don't forget to check out my Mac Miller Tarot deck if you guys are interested. The link is down there as well. And I will see you in the next one, friends. Blessed be.